Hello and welcome to our tarot reading for August 13th through 19th, 2023. My name is Breach Burke and this channel is called Liminal Tarot, and it is connected to my Reiki, tarot, and coaching business called Transition Life Coaching. I will have a link to, if you want to book readings with me or want to, to have like a one-on-one session or do coaching or etc., or even just have a reading with me, check for the link down in the description below. If you do like this channel and you like my videos, please do hit like and also subscribe, because that helps boost me in the algorithm. And I appreciate everybody who has subscribed, or even if you're just watching right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this week is I'm going to do my usual astrological spread with Cartouche, and then I will, I'm using the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck as the secondary to enhance and to elucidate what I'm going to see in my astrological spread for the week. So what do we need to know for the week of August 13 through 19, 2023, more generally? Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, and we're going to take out our, always, half of my, the boxes for my decks usually get cramped, they're usually fairly tightly fitted, so they end up falling apart. I still find myself keeping the shells of them, in many cases, unless it's completely hopeless. Okay, so I'm gonna shuffle. And we'll cut. Okay. Let's see what we get for this week. For those not familiar with this channel, again, I don't want to be repetitive for those of you who are back regularly, but I always do a 12-house astrological spread, plus I put one in the middle, as they say, for luck. And so I'm looking at things by astrological house. So this is the way that I do these readings, because I find it's very, very helpful. When I see certain influences, it tells me, what area are we talking about? Are we talking about finances? Are we talking about job? Are we talking about health? Are we talking about love? Or just, projects or home? Like, what are we talking about? I think it just makes it a little bit clearer for people what area we're seeing these influences in. Okay, so the first house of the astrological, of the house system would be the Aries house, which is the house of your identity, the I am house, how you present yourself to the world and to other people. And yeah, we're starting with the Sphinx card. So Sphinx usually means that we're actually, well, there's actually two possible things here. One is that we could be withdrawing from people. We could, wanting to take some time out. This is kind of a wait and see card. So there's an attitude of passivity here. Like, okay, I'm not going to assert myself or show certain things about myself right now. Alternatively, Sphinx sometimes is a card of excavation. So we may be, this is a time for a lot of people with the way the astrology has been. Like I said, this month is filled with retrogrades. So this is certainly a month of doing a lot of assessment and reevaluation of where we're at. So to see Sphinx here tells me that we are, we may be doing that reevaluation of who we are. What do we identify with? What's our brand, so to speak? Or what, how are we presenting ourselves to other people? Is there an aspect of ourselves that may be tied to a past pattern or a childhood thing that we need to think about and reconsider? Now we have this elucidated by the Prince of Cups, which is a bit like the King in the Crowley deck. And so this would have to do, there's definitely a strong emotional component to this. Prince of Cups is definitely having to do with feelings, whether it has to do actually with love and how we feel about love, or whether it has to just do with things that have to do with deep emotion or control of the emotions. Because frequently this card has to do with the way in which we may feel like we're a little bit on rocky ground emotionally, and the question is, how do we find that solid surface on the water, so to speak? What's that boat that we're riding on that allows us to have that that sense of feeling like we have emotional control? So I feel like a lot of emotional stuff may be coming up for people, a lot of feelings, and again, whether this has to do with love or whether this just has to do with emotional stuff, family stuff, it could have to do with a lot of different things. Now, if I look straight across to the house, the seventh house, which is the Libra house, these two I find tend to work together. So while this is about you and just about you in the first house, the seventh house is about partnerships. It's about how you partner with others. It can have to do with love. If you're somebody who's in a marriage relationship, it could have to do with your spouse. And if you're somebody who's looking for love, it could have to do with, chances of meeting or finding somebody. But it can also have to do with business partnerships and other kinds of, strong relationships like that. There's a different house that focuses on friendships particularly, but this has to do with, this is where we have to do with these more committed type of partnerships. So we have in this house, we have Urias. Now, Urias comes up when there is something, again, there's something hidden. To see this kind of vis-a-vis the Sphinx, there's definitely the sense that there's something going on behind the scenes. There's something not seen here. Now, again, if you're in a marriage situation, your marriage is happy and everything's good, sometimes this just means that there's going to be something unexpected coming up, something that you were not anticipating. There could be a surprise. Your partner could have a sudden something unexpected. Urias sometimes also comes up when we think something is worse than what it is. We may look at a situation and we may have a very dim view of it, but it may be saying, you may be in for some surprises that are good. Urias to me usually is good surprises. Sometimes it has to do with caution, or just the idea, there's just an idea of either secrecy or something coming in out of the blue that you were not expecting. And we're seeing this with the Ace of Swords. So yeah, Ace of Swords is about having stark clarity about something. So this is going to be information that's going to be coming in that's going to tell you something unexpected is coming in. Some kind of unexpected message is coming in with regard to a partnership. So again, if you're single, this could literally mean, I don't know, finding out that there's somebody who wants to have a relationship with you where you go, whoa, that's news. I didn't know that. Something that kind of comes out of the blue, because somebody is hiding something. It can be somebody who is interested in you, but is not showing it to you for whatever reason. They may be, I don't know, they may be shy about telling you. They may have other reasons why they want to hold that information back. In business partnerships and so forth, again, this has to do with, this can be, an unexpected person coming in, especially now I'm looking at the 10th house up here, which we're going to look at in a minute. I'm seeing the idea of a partnership in business. So for some people, this could literally mean somebody coming with a new opportunity. And this also often has to do with a new way of thinking about something as well, because swords have to do with thought. So yeah, something coming up in the house of partnerships there. Again, whether this has to do with you if you're a single person, whether it has to do with your committed partner, or whether this has to do with a business partner or a business partnership. That there could be something new coming up, something that's been brewing that you've not seen, and now maybe it's going to appear. But there's definitely going to be a clarity there. And if it's not for you, it might well be for your partner if you're married. Let me backtrack here to the second house, which is the house of Taurus. And so Taurus has to do with materials, things, finances, values. It's a house ruled by Venus. So Venus is the ruler of all of those things. Yes, we have Osiris. So Osiris is good. Osiris is strong Sagittarius energy, and Osiris comes up when a situation is stable. It's unchanged in some way. So if you've been worried about money, the Osiris more or less says, at least you're on stable ground. Like you're not going to have a sudden collapse of your finances. At the same time, sometimes Osiris indicates something is growing very slowly, or it's just, you're kind of in a stable, fixed spot. So you may not necessarily be doing a whole lot more financially, but you're also not going to have a whole lot less. So you won't be in a situation that's dire or difficult. Now, of course, we do have the Eight of Swords here. So I think as a clarifier, what this is saying is you may be worried about finances or up in your head about it. You may be stuck because the interference card, the Eight of Swords, has to do with ways in which our mind interferes. Remember, swords have to do with mental energy. And the higher up we get in the swords, the more we're plagued with self-doubt and worry. Because, we often view thinking and rationally and logically going through something as always the best way to go. But that isn't necessarily true, because our thoughts are also a kind of prison. Because we don't know the outcome, we rationalize all these different outcomes, and then we get ourselves tangled up in this web of thoughts and are unable to move forward. So this may be saying, the message here, I think, for somebody at least, is your finances are fine. Don't be so up in your head about it. Things are, whatever's stuck will become unstuck at some point. In fact, when the Eight of Swords comes up, a lot of times there already is a way to get unstuck, but because you're kind of like frantically looking at the situation or kind of tying yourself in mental knots, you're not seeing it. Okay, there's another deck that I use sometimes called the Mystical Cats Tarot, and I think it expresses the Eight of Swords beautifully. It's literally a cat there's like a branch like sticking out of the ground, and the cat's kind of stuck under the branch and kind of flailing. But the thing is, all he has to do is kind of roll over to the side and he'll be out from underneath the branch. But all he sees is his branch on top of him and he thinks he's stuck. So I always felt like that was a good visual for what the Eight of Swords really represents. I mean, I know that the Rider-Waite has a traditional woman who's bound, and that also has its, that also conveys the image correctly, because her feet are not bound. So the idea is actually you could just push this off and walk away, but you've got yourself bound up. So yeah, so that seems to be the message in terms of finances, and we're going to look at job and business, how that will relate for some of you. Okay, so third house is Gemini. Okay, so this has to do with communication, and also with business, if you're in business, because this has to do with commerce, trading, everything that's ruled by Mercury, because Mercury rules Gemini. And so it's got to do with technology as well. This is also about travel, although the third house is more about short-term travel, and it can have to do with communication and messages, but this is on more of a superficial level. Like, this is not deep conversation stuff. This is more superficial. So yeah, we have the wing disc here, which is a good card in Cartouche. This is the wing disc of the sun. It's a solar disc, and it's very much a, this indicates that overcoming obstacles or difficulties or accomplishing something. This is a card of accomplishment. I do think it's quite similar to the sun in the tarot, because this also brings a kind of clarity with it as well. So this could mean messages coming in that are good news, that are things that are, if you've been stuck about something, especially if it's a business matter, this may be saying, hey, messages are going to be coming in, good messages that are going to get you unstuck. Now we have it with the moon. So again, as a clarifier, it's fun when you got like the sun and the moon together here. The moon card has to do with that which is not clear. So it's almost the opposite, in the sense that this may be coming up because we may be in a situation where we lack clarity. We may, and that may explain why we're stuck in our head. There's a lack of clarity, and so the moon often, this is not the realm of overthinking it. This is the realm of feeling it out. You may just have an instinct that something is coming, but if somebody says to you, oh well, what's coming, you may say no idea, because you don't know yet. But wing disc assures you that something is coming, a message is coming in particular, that is going to set things on the right course. So right now you may be feeling like you're operating in the dark, or you're not really able to really see the path very clearly, but that is going to change soon. Okay, fourth house has to do with this is the house of Cancer. So this is moon energy. It's ruled by the moon. Cancer in this particular house has to do with domestic affairs. It has to do with your home, your physical home. It can have to do with your family, your roots, your ancestral roots, your parents, usually your mother in particular. And and anything just having to do with, and again, it doesn't have to necessarily do with your physical home. It can also have to do with your personal sense of feeling at home, because strictly speaking, you want to be able to feel at home wherever you are, whether you are physically in the space that you have tended to think of at home, which is a very hard thing to do. But yeah, so we have Nephthys here right now. Okay, so Nephthys is it has an element of the moon, and it's in the moon house. Not a bad card, because this often has to do with, in a psychic way, it would have to do with psychic gifts. Like there's a Neptunian energy to it. Okay, it has to do with things that are perceived but not seen. And this may be affecting your sense of security. It may literally have to do with your home. But it generally points to something that has not happened yet. It's very much a not yet card. So so you will eventually, you will know, or you will see clearly what's going on. And I think in terms of how it makes you feel, how it affects your sense of security, yeah, you may feel like you're walking in a fog. Like I don't know what's going on, but again, it's just assuring you that, again, this kind of good news, this stability that we're seeing, all this kind of stuff, it's coming, it's just not here yet. Okay, this definitely indicates something that's just, it's in shadow right now. And you have it with the Princess of Swords, which is like the Page of Swords. This card, okay, Page of Swords, again, there's, in the traditional decks, Page of Swords or Princess of Swords has to do with things that may be going on, talk that may be going on and so forth. Rumor, stuff that we don't know about. And so, we may be hearing rumors and that may make us feel unstable. We may be like, oh, what does this mean? What is this going to mean for me in the future? But the Princess of Swords is also, Angela Sarian also describes this as a mood fighter card in the Crowley deck. So it's the idea of having to keep control of your emotions in a situation where you are in this kind of amorphous Neptunian, Piscean emotional space. And the good news about that is that can bring inspiration and dreams, and it can tell you to get outside of your logical mind and use your imagination. On the more negative side, it can cloud things. It can make us try to run away and escape and withdraw. There may be a sense of wanting to withdraw when this card comes up. You do need to be careful with this, because sometimes Nepenthes can indicate like addictions, like alcohol addictions in particular. So be careful about turning to that kind of a thing if you are feeling insecure right now. You want to make sure that you are, it would be a very easy thing to fall into, because there may be a desire to escape from this kind of amorphous unknown energy. So there's this idea of mood fighting here, of being able to, Princess of Swords, just as we don't want to overthink, we also don't want to get so lost in this kind of Neptunian space that we're not allowing our rational mind to stay in balance with that. You really need a combination of going with your feelings and your imagination and spontaneity, but also grounding it. And that's what thought should really be used for, is kind of a grounding thing. Okay, 5th house. This has to do with Leo. This has to do with pleasure, with fun, with creative projects. If you have children, this can be the house that has to do with children. And we have here, and I think this came up last week, we have Anubis here again. So Anubis is interesting because Anubis, for some of you, this could indicate either something having to do with leisure or having to do with a creative project or something that involves travel. Anubis frequently will come up when we are in motion or moving, okay? But Anubis is also a card of protection. So we may be, and also this has to do with a lack of self-deception. That came into my mind, that it is another meaning, so that may mean something for somebody out there. But this is a sense of you're not deceiving yourself. Like you may have a feeling about something, or about a project, or even maybe about one of your children if you have children. But there's this idea that there's like a lack of self-deception. Now, again, we're coming towards September. For some of you with your children, this could literally mean that your children are going to be traveling. Maybe you're worried about them going off to school. This would definitely indicate safety. Okay, so this would indicate protection during travel in particular. So this would indicate a safe journey for those of you who are, where that is a factor. And we have, elucidating this card is the 9 of Cups, which is great. This is the happiness card. So this definitely would indicate, this is a card of enjoyment. So this would definitely be saying, try not to get yourself so bogged down in this stuff. Like, take some time out for leisure, take some time out to enjoy yourself. Life is something that should be happy, that we should be lived and should be living in the experience and enjoying it. We live in a culture that shames ourselves out of taking time out for ourselves to be happy. So do make sure you're doing that. Again, with respect to children, for some of you, this could just mean a child getting something that makes them happy or getting a wish. Or if you're trying to have children, maybe you're going to finally get to. There's a strong sense here of this Leo energy that something is going to go very much the way you want it, and if you are worried about it, Anubis provides a layer of protection, and travel could be a factor. So again, creative projects, something to do with children potentially, and also to do with leisure and how you enjoy yourself. Okay, 6th house, this has to do with Virgo energy. So this has to not only do with our work, it has to do with things we worry or have anxiety about. Virgo is very strong. That's also, I think Virgo is also Venus energy, but it's very much, Virgo is very practical, detail oriented, and organized, as a trait of that particular sign. And very, very grounded. It's an earth sign. So Virgo would be somebody who would be worried about something being perfect or perfectionism. So there's an element of that to this house. It also has to do with work, and this is called the house of service. Also has to do with domestic animals. So if you have something going on with a pet, this may also apply here. But there's definitely a strong work component here because we have Ta, which is Capricorn energy. So this would be suggesting for some of us that we need to kind of ground ourselves in our work, ground ourselves in staying focused on where we're going with our work. Okay, don't, in a health matter, this would just simply be indicating Ta is about building foundations. It's very strong masculine energy. That could apply for some people. I don't know. It often has to do with doing things with your hands. It has to do with sort of manual dexterity, as they would say. And, because Ta is a Masonic figure here. He's a builder. So this is about building something. So that may be a way to conquer your worries, is to say, okay, well, when you're building something, you're in a process. So don't feel like you have to have everything solved in one day. A lot of times as we're slowly building something up, we get very, very impatient to see what the result's going to be. And sometimes Ta is saying, it's that, again, Capricorn energy, persistent, plodding, take your time. It's ruled by Saturn. So you want to just kind of take your time and work through things slowly and practically as far as your work goes in particular, or about things you're worried about. And again, if there's a health issue, that would similarly be the thing, the idea of, working your way back from something slowly. We have it with the Hierophant, which is Taurus energy. So yeah, there's a lot of, this is like triple earth right here. So there's definitely a sense of staying grounded, staying practical. Hierophant often can indicate a teacher, it can indicate a mentor, or just somebody who is an expert of some kind. Sometimes it represents commitment or a higher level of commitment. So the Hierophant here could just be that you need to be more committed to the work that you're doing. You may be feeling kind of amorphous here. Maybe you're stuck in this kind of Neptunian escapist energy, and maybe and that's making you worried, like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of in this amorphous space, but I feel like I have to get to work. And this may be just saying slow but steady, get to work, follow tried and true methods too. That's the other thing of the Hierophant. Try following a tried and true method. Okay, so now let's move. We looked at the 7th house of Libra already, so now we're going to look at the 8th house of Scorpio. And yeah, we've got fire here. So fire, yeah, this is coming up for a lot of people. This is a real judgment time for a lot of people. You could be inspired to do something very new. Fire does bring very strong inspiration. Fire also burns things up. So this could be about purification in the sense of, let's burn away all of the things, all of the dross that is not helping me, that is just weighing me down. We're just going to kind of proverbially throw it out into the fire and burn it up and just get rid of it. And we have it with, more fire. We've got the Princess of Wands, which is like the Page of Wands. Again, the princesses in this deck, they're more about, similar to the Page, so you're talking about new energy, new fiery energy. You see this woman, with the tiger or the big cat under here. Yeah, and she's almost got this, these almost Aries-like horns on here. This is very strong Aries energy associated with this card. So in the 8th house of transformation, in the house of Scorpio, this means being very deeply passionate about something. You know, with fire, tempers can flare too, so be careful of that. But I feel like in the 8th house, this is more about you are now really going to feel driven towards your transformation, towards what the next thing is, towards whatever is hidden here in the 1st house, whatever might be clouded by the water or by the emotions. There's going to definitely be a drive. There's going to be a fire lit under your backside, as they say, you know, to get things going. So that energy is going to be coming up, and anything that's going to be in the way is going to be just burned up and pushed out of the way. Very strong energy of that this week. Okay, 9th house. This has to do with higher ed. So again, those of you who either are teachers or might be going back to school, this would apply. This has to do with long distance travel, and it does have to do with thought. It's opposite the 3rd house. The 3rd house, as I mentioned, has to do with more superficial thought. This is Sagittarius energy. This has to do with deeper thought, philosophy, religion, you know, the things that we believe in, the core narratives that drive our lives, you know, something on a much deeper level. And for some people, it also has to do with legal matters. So we've got the 3 of Wands here, okay, more fire energy. This is the card, Crowley calls it the card of virtue. And yeah, so this is about integrity. This is about working with others. So this could, for some people, could suggest a collaboration, could be having to do with education, could have to do, you know, being that it's that, or some kind of, I feel like this is I do feel like that comes into my mind, like an education collaboration of some kind that will apply for some of you. But nonetheless, there's still this idea of working with others. For some people, that could mean taking a long trip to work with somebody, okay, this or traveling or potentially moving. But the 3 of Wands is about, oftentimes we're standing there waiting for a sign. In the Rider-Waite deck, you see the man kind of standing, there's 3 staves, and he's kind of standing there holding on to one, looking out over the water. He's waiting for that ship to come in. So we may be in a stage right now where we are like waiting for a sign for the next thing that's going to happen, that's going to move us ahead. And you know, something that you know, may profoundly change the way we think about things. And again, this may have something to do, for some of you at least, with education specifically. With that, we have the Pyramid card. And so with Pyramid is about a test situation. This is about something in which we, you know, where we're not, again, there's like an initiatory quality to it. We're going through an ordeal. We're not really sure where this is going to go. With the 3 of Wands, this would suggest that, you know, somehow the answer may come in support or collaboration from another person, you know, with other people. And so it does indicate a situation that even though it may be feel like a trial right now, there will be good news eventually. I mean, this is, and again, similar to the Capricorn energy down here, Pyramid has a very strong sense of something taking some time. You know, again, there's this idea that you don't have the answers yet, but they're coming. So this is kind of like just hang tight. Anything that may feel stressful in this particular mode is something that's going to clear itself up soon. Okay, 10th house is Capricorn. And this is the house of your career. If the 6th house is your job, I always say the 10th house is more your career, because you might have a job you do just to bring the money in, and then there's that thing you're really doing, the thing you're going to build your reputation on, your brand on, who you are. It's your status. It's how you appear to others. And just as the 4th house, it's opposite the 4th house. The 4th house is the house of the mother. This is the house of the father. And it is ruled by Saturn. It is Capricorn. So we have the twins here. Yeah, as I've mentioned before. The twins generally, again, indicates a partnership or a collaboration. And seeing that in connection with this other house, this leads me to believe that this is telling you that you can accomplish more with somebody else than on your own in terms of your goals. It could be that, this could be this unexpected business partnership over here that may come up, and a new way of looking and a new way of thinking over here in the 7th house. There could be somebody coming in. Now for some people, it even could be a lover or a spouse or a partner of that nature, of a romantic nature, who maybe is also going to be a business partner. But strictly speaking, that's not necessarily the case. This could just be another person. It could be a friend, a collaborator, another expert who you bring on board. There's definitely the idea of working with someone here. And we have the Prince of Discs here. So this is like the King of Pentacles and other card decks. So when this card comes up, yeah, I mean, this definitely has a strong sense of business, getting down to business. This card has to do with being grounded and a lot of different things. For some people, this may have to do with specifically with health. Prince of Discs often has to do with, with good health, nutrition, taking care of your body. So for some people, it may literally, very literally be about being in that kind of business, something to do with health. But for others, this could actually be a person. There could be this could be the person, and if the person is the King of Pentacles, whether they are an Earth sign or not, because there's obviously strong Earth energy associated with this card, and you see the bull, so it's associated with Taurus. It may not literally be a Taurus or an Earth sign person, but it's definitely somebody who knows what they're doing in the realm of business, of finance, somebody who's stable, maybe, this is somebody who's good to have on your side in a business type setting. This is somebody who's solid, stable, and knows how to create a solid, stable, and reliable situation. So for some of you, this could, like I said, this could literally be a person, but it could also just be that you may be coming to some of this yourself, or you may be that person for somebody else. But there definitely seems to be this sense of a collaborator in some way, or somebody who is helping, who is able to, if they're not literally somebody who is, has the characteristics or qualities of the King of Pentacles in a more physical or astrological sense, being literally that sign, this could also just be those qualities, somebody who's going to, if you're the idea person, let's say, this could be the person who brings you the grounding of, managing the finances or the accounting, or, just being able to figure out the more practical down to earth details. So, and for some people, it could also just mean that is the key to success. You need somebody like that. Okay. Okay, 11th house. This is Aquarius energy. This has to do with our friendships. This has to do with our networks, our social networks. It has to do with our goals, our hopes and wishes. The 11th house is connected to all of that kind of stuff, but a lot of it has to do with our networks and our friendships in particular. And yeah, so we have Thoth here. So Thoth has to do with, for some people, this could, the word that jumps into my mind first is fated. I mean, Thoth sometimes comes up when we are in the right place and the right time, and we have either an existing friend or we forge a new friendship that for some reason is going to be very meaningful. Again, whether that has to do with a friend who gets involved in business, a friend who gets involved romantically. It's going to depend on, this is a general reading, so it will depend on your circumstances. But Thoth definitely has to do with something that is at the right place at the right time. Thoth can also have to do with healing. So, this could be somebody, a friend who has a healing presence, or who may have the kind of element of a mentor in some way, because Thoth definitely carries a certain sense of wisdom. This is a card that has to do with writers and healers and doctors, and Thoth has a lot of that wisdom energy associated with him. So take those factors into account as well. They may have something to do with it. But it feels like there's somebody here who's either a healing presence or just somebody who's going to be the right person in the situation at the right time. Now we have this with the Chariot. Chariot is Cancer energy. Chariot has to do with movement, taking control. Okay, so, and this can literally be moving for some people. So for some of you, there may be a wish to move, or to move on, or to go into a new space. And but nonetheless, whether it's a literal journey or a literal move, or whether this is just about taking control of your situation, this is about kind of being on your way towards your goals. And I feel like it's the friends that you have, or your networks, that are going to help propel you forward. Okay, now let's look at our 12th house, which is Pisces. And this has to do with what is hidden, what is, it can have to do with escapism. As they say, this is the house of both madness and sainthood. So it's, it's both. There's a sense of, if you practice Hinduism, this may have more to do with your liberation ideas. I think in the more general sense, or the more mundane sense, it has to do with, if the first house has to do with what you present to people, this is what people don't see. This may be what you're grappling with. This may be what you're secretly afraid of, or just what you've got in the back of your mind that you may not be consciously focused on. And yeah, this is interesting. You have Lotus with the Five of Pentacles. So yeah, there is definitely unconscious worries about security. There's unconscious worries about money, about having enough. And again, just being that we're seeing that you're up in your head over here, we're seeing that the Moon card over here with business, you know, there just seems to be this whole idea that somehow you are unconsciously, what again, in your mind you may go, nah, everything's fine, but unconsciously there definitely seems to be a worry about stability. There could be a situation where you feel left out in the cold, or where you feel that you know, you're waiting for this message and it's not coming. Maybe you're being ghosted. Like, you may feel that way, but that's more of a fear. It's not a reality. It's a fear. This is not a house of things that have a concrete foundation necessarily. And you have it with Lotus. And Lotus, yeah, Lotus is the card of needing to de-stress, needing to calm the mind. And to have it with the worry card means, yeah, unconsciously you're worried. You're worried about something. And worries, as I've often said, tend to fall into two categories. Sometimes these two are connected, but our worries tend to be about either being alone, isolation, or they tend to be insecure about not having enough, or not, you know, not having enough food, not being able to pay the rent, not being able to have what we need in terms of material things, or we're worried about what we're not going to have, you know, that we're going to be left alone in terms of being connected to others. Those tend to be the two big fears that we have. And what this is saying, this is focused more on that, the fear of material security in particular. And I think this is saying, you know, you need to calm the mind about that. It's more of a worry. The fact that I'm seeing all of these messages coming in, and the fact that I'm seeing this idea of, yeah, your ship's coming in. It's just, you know, you're not quite there yet, but it is coming. It's reassuring you that it is coming. And it is pointing to your connections with others, whether they be friends, business partners. There's just somebody there. The answer is going to come through collaboration with other people somehow. There's collaborations showing up in 3 different places here. So I feel like, well, actually 4. So I feel like this is like, yeah, you're ready to move, but the last piece may be that there may be somebody else that you need to bring into the mix to get things going. Yeah. And overall, what do we have? We have the Sirius card, and we have the 3 of Pentacles. 3 of Pentacles is works. Again, the 3s, collaboration. This has to do with material things. There's this idea, and again, like Ta, this is about building a foundation. You're at the beginning stages of something. So this is also a reassurance that you may be at the beginning, and you shouldn't, again, don't try to be at the end when you're only at the beginning. You know, we have to recognize where we're at, and you may actually be in a very good position for where you are right now. And, you know, things will continue to build and grow. Yeah, and Sirius is just about putting the work in. And I feel like it has a very similar energy to this card, in the sense that it's saying you need to think outside the box, look at something different. This is Aquarius energy in Cartouche, and this has to do with breadth of vision, you know, trying to look at the depths of something, or like the Hanged Man. You want to take a different perspective on it, because you may be overly focusing on something, you know, maybe in too traditional of a way. You may just be saying, well, there's only one way to do this. And this would be saying, no, there's not just one way to do this. Okay. So that's our cards for today. I like to draw one more, just to, you know, 1 or 2 more usually, to provide us with a kind of an ending here. You know, just kind of a little wrap up oracle. And today I'm going to use the Essential Oil Oracle. So I'm going to draw an extra card for us just as a final message for this week. And let me fan out here and pull a card. And the card I have is Copaiba, I think is how you say that. This is the essential oil that it's referring to. And I will read the card to you, and then I'll show it to you. The key word on this card is worthy. And the trigger statement is, I'm ashamed. Okay, so there's something that we, you know, maybe feel some secret shame about, or secretly feel that we can't share with others. And the true statement is, I am cherished. And it says, there are connections to ancestral and childhood memories that are ready to be healed. Allow divine light to shine within. Okay, so yeah, this suggests to me that the tone of this reading has to do with past patterns of thought, ancestral patterns of thought. Whether you're aware you have them or not, your sense of worry about things could be inherited from your family. If you had, a mother or a father who was a worrywart, or their parents were, if there's this pattern of, for example, oh, you always have to have a 9-to-5 job and be making X amount of dollars. Otherwise, you should be concerned. You should be worried about this or that. You're not going to have enough money. If there's this constant fear that like you always have to be doing more and more and more and making more and more money, for example, this may or may not be your issue. But, that may prompt that financial insecurity. So even if things are fine, even if you have enough, you might be like, oh, but, maybe I'm not going to have enough because maybe you've chosen not to do things a traditional way. And that generally comes from the previous generations that's saying, you have to work hard and do things this way, in this particular way, in order to be successful. And that may be saying, no, it's time to clear those past patterns and look at things for what they really are. You're discovering new things about yourself. And, this is a time to collaborate and find the support of others, particularly like-minded others who can help you. That's it for me this week. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.